Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry it's been a long time since I've made a video. Life's been crazy, but today we're going to go over how to read nutrition labels. First thing that you want to look for when you look at this is the number of servings. For in this example, the serving size is 1 cup. So in 1 cup there's 190 calories. With milk it has 250 calories per serving. And a lot of times when you look at a food box, it'll say 4 servings per box. And that's important because if there's 4 servings and there's only 90 calories a serving, you need to take that number of calories and multiply it by that serving size to figure out how many calories are actually in the food that you're eating. You do want to keep in mind that also not only the calories doubles if you have double the serving size, but so do your macros. So when you look at the number of carbs, I mean, there's 47 grams of carbs in 1 cup, but most people don't just have 1 cup of cereal. They'll probably have about 2 cups. And then you have to take your number of carbs, which is 47 grams, multiply that by 2 because you're having 2 serving size, and that comes to what, 94 grams of carbs just in that bowl of cereal. And then if you add the milk in, I mean, there's 56 grams of carbs. So you multiply that by 2. What did you get? 112 grams of carbs? That's a lot of carbs just for your 1 bowl of cereal in the morning. So that's why it's important. Oh, my laundry's done. It can wait. Nobody likes doing laundry. And then besides the macros, when you look at a nutrition label, you want to be looking at your fats, because Americans tend to have too much fat in their diet and not enough like protein and carbs. So I mean, our cereal box doesn't have a lot of fat in it, but typically foods that are processed do. And then the difference between the fats that you want to look at, so you have your unsaturated fats, which are your healthy fats. Those are usually liquid at room temperature. Those are like your oils, your fish, avocados, nuts, seeds. Those are your healthier fats. Those are going to lower your blood pressure and your cholesterol, and it's good for brain energy. So unsaturated fats are what you want in your foods. You do not want saturated fat, which are solid at room temperature. So these are usually like your dairy products and your red meats, butter, stuff like that. And so these are gonna raise your blood cholesterol, put you at higher risk for diabetes and heart disease. Yeah, not good. And then the worst of them all is trans fatty acids. Well, trans fat. All that trans fat is the company takes an unsaturated fatty acid and then they add hydrogen to it, and then that makes it solid at room temperature so that it has a longer shelf life. So really it's worse than saturated. And okay, so one thing that the food companies trick you with is if there's less than 0.5 grams of trans fat in the serving size, they don't have to list it on the nutrition label. If you want to know whether there's trans fat or not in your product, you just go to like the ingredients label and you look for partially hydrogenated oils, and that will tell you if there's trans fat in it or not. So a company could be like, okay, in 1 cup there's 0.5 grams of trans fat in it, but we don't want to let people know that there's trans fat in it, so we're going to cut the serving size down to 3/4 of a cup, and that way we don't have to list it and it looks healthier. Yeah, they're deceiving like that. It's kind of annoying. So stay away from trans fats and saturated fats. Your unsaturated are what you want to go for. And then foods that are high in saturated fats are usually pretty high in cholesterol, which you also want to look for on a nutrition label. You don't want foods high in cholesterol either, as that's going to raise your blood pressure too. You also want to limit your sodium intake. Sodium is salt. The recommended daily amount is 2,300 milligrams a day, less than that, so make sure that you're not overloading on 1 serving of salt. Okay, so carbs. So you want your carbs to come more from fiber and not from sugar, especially added sugars. An example of natural sugars would be like fruits and dairy products, which is fructose and lactose. So if you see fructose and lactose on a nutrition label, it's going to be a lot better than the added sugars that you're having. Also, when you go look at a nutrition label, If you look at the ingredients list, the ingredients that are listed first are the most abundant ingredient in the product. For example, if the first product is whole wheat, that's what most of it is made up of. And when you look at a nutrition label, you want to look for things like whole wheat or whole grain. That means that it has all parts of the kernel. If it says like refined or what's another one? Enriched flour or something, that means they've taken out all the nutrients and the endosperm is the only thing that's left in it. You want all parts. You want the bran, germ, and the endosperm part of the kernel in there for it to be whole wheat or whole grain. Another thing that these companies do to trick you is that they might say like multigrain on the box and you're like, ooh, multigrain, like I'm getting a ton of nutrients. That is not always the truth. That just means that it's made up of a bunch of different kinds of grains. It doesn't mean that it's made of like the full grain and a bunch of different kinds of them. It just means that they might take like this part from this grain and this part from this grain and mix it all together. So they're pretty deceiving sometimes. That's also something you want to look out for. So that's pretty much all the information I have for you guys regarding nutrition labels. Like I said, you don't want trans fats, you don't want saturated fats. Limit your intake of sugar. You want your sugar to be less than 50 grams a day total is what the RDA is. I mean, people typically think Raisin Bran is pretty good for you, but I'm thinking if I'm gonna have 2 cups of cereal for breakfast and it's 250 calories with milk, that's 500 calories for that bowl of cereal you just had, and I'm like, heck no, I'd rather have like, I don't know what I'd rather have, apples or something. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys. Alright, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, follow me on Instagram if you feel like it. Okay, I have to go take out that laundry now before the neighbors in my apartment get mad at me for leaving it in all day. Also, there's one thing I wanted to tell you guys. I am definitely not a dietitian or anything in that area. I'm just a college kid that really finds this stuff interesting, so I've done a lot of research on it and I've taken a lot of health classes and anatomy and on biochemistry and all that kind of stuff while I'm in college. So you don't have to quote me on everything. I'm not a genius or anything. I just find it interesting. So I thought I should add that in there. Okay, bye guys.